Once again, Joe the Shirt is off the cuff. Sorry about that. Welcome back, everybody, to Joe the Shirt's Off the Cuff, and happy Halloween to all of you. And for those of you listening, this is not the Halloween episode. That's going to come on later today with my special guest. My girlfriend, the Russian, will be joining me for the special Halloween episode of Joe the Shirt's Off the Cuff. For all of you out there who are stuck at home, giving out candy, or just didn't feel like going out, maybe you're sick, like I am, actually. You may be hearing that in my voice. That's not my sexy voice, I'm telling you right now. That's my I've been sick voice, which is one of the reasons you haven't heard me in the last couple of days. I was on such a tear. I really wanted to do so many more shows, but I got sick, and come, what was it, Tuesday, my voice was down to this. This was as loud as I could get it. It was just bad. It was so bad, in fact, that I went into my internship for veterinary assistant, and I walked in there. The doctor sees me, and within like 20 minutes, he go home. He's like, I don't want you getting the rest of us sick. Just go home. That's how bad I looked, okay? I looked like death warmed over, and he just told me to go home, for which I thank him very much. But now I'm feeling better, but obviously I'm not at 100%. And for me, this is like a curse beyond words, because as you all know, one of the things I love to do is listen to the sound of my own voice. I love to talk. I love to pontificate and postulate, and I'll even get proverbial on your ass if I need to. I like to talk. It's one of the things that I really enjoy doing. And so when I can't talk for all of Monday and Tuesday and a good part of Wednesday, it's like my girlfriend was just like, don't talk to anybody. Don't talk to me. Don't talk. And after almost 3 days of being pretty much silent, it was a silent household in here. I was just going to take it today. I had to do a show. It's October 31st. I'm doing a show. Not only that, I'm doing 2 shows because I need to fucking talk. Now, unlike other days where I enjoy bearing the lead, I'm actually going to start out with the lead today, but not until I introduce today's music. I got 4 different bands today. That first one was called This Is an Argument, Not a Debate. It's by the studio band Headliner. And we're going to be having several performers on today for today's show. I felt like doing something a little different. Now, I want you to try to imagine something if you're a parent out there, okay? And I know this happens with a lot of families. You have a family that looks, say, a certain way, okay? Like, if you look at my family, most of my family is light tan to medium light skin, light-skinned kind of family. We're light-skinned Latinos, Puerto Ricans, as the case may be. We all have dark hair, and we all have light brown, like medium light brown to dark brown eyes. Like, my eyes are almost black. They're so dark. All right. But within my family, and we have my niece Shania, who is incredibly white, and has blue eyes, blonde hair. And we also have my nephew Damien, who is very dark skinned, has very thick, curly, black person kind of hair. Some people might call it nappy, but And if you were to look at these two people together, you would never guess in a billion years that they are related by blood. Okay? They share the same grandmother and grandfather because they come from a pair of sisters. My sister Yamila, who is the mother of Shania, and my sister Jessica, who's the mother of Damien. But if you would see these two together, you would never guess that they were first cousins. It wouldn't happen, okay? Especially if you don't know Puerto Ricans the way I know Puerto Ricans, because Puerto Ricans run the gambit on what they look like. You know, Puerto Rican look as white as humanly possible, as black as humanly possible, as stereotypically Latino as possible, and in many cases even Asian and or Indian and Native American. Like if you were to see my grandfather looked like Chief Running Bull, man. I mean, he was like red-skinned to hell, long jet black hair. You know, I mean, he was like a hawk of a human being. But, you know, but if you were to see him and me together, you'd never guess he was my maternal grandfather, because he and I really don't look a lot alike. Well, that happens in a lot of families. Now, within some ethnic groups, it doesn't happen quite as often. Typically speaking, you're not going to find a family of, say, a couple of Asian people with a blonde, blue-eyed baby who is genetically their child. Doesn't happen all that often. But it can. Now, this is something that happened in Europe. This story comes from London, where a Roma family. Now, for those of you who are unfamiliar with the Roma family, it's a Bulgarian Roma family. A Roma family is basically they're gypsies. All right, they travel from town to town in their little troops, eking out a living however they can, you know, and there you have it. That's what they do, but they're called Roma. So, Romers, maybe that's what that's supposed to mean. Apparently, Sasha Ruseva, who was a Roma. Sorry, my bad. It was a Greek Roma couple, Christos Salis, 39 years old, and Eleftheria Dimapopoulou, 40 years old, are being held on suspicion of abducting a child named Maria. Turns out, let's see, the DNA tests have confirmed that the couple are the parents of Maria, a blonde, green-eyed 4-year-old taken into police custody in central Greece last week from the Roma settlement where she was living, Bulgarian authorities said on Friday. Okay, I'm confusing this. A Bulgarian Roma family are the parents of Maria, but they arrested a Greek Roma couple for abduction. It turns out that, genetically speaking, they are related. Apparently, the original couple couldn't afford to raise another child and asked this family to raise for them. Now, a similar event happened in Ireland, where a couple of girls were taken from Roma families because they were blonde, blue-eyed, and their alleged parents were dark-skinned, dark-haired, very swarthy, had a lot of arm hair, apparently, and the children were seized by police who suspected they were not of the natural offsprings of the Roma parents. In both cases, police were proved wrong by DNA tests, and the children were returned to their families. Now, I want you to imagine that for just a second, okay? Now, traditionally speaking, a lot of times in European cultures and Latino cultures, even some American cultures, parents will sometimes like tell their kids, it's like, hey, you better be good or the gypsies are going to take you away, you know? And, that's something you do, to scare your kids into behaving, usually doesn't work. But, excuse me, I need to have a little drink here. But that's what they would do. Here, the opposite is now happening, where gypsy families are telling their kids, you better be good or the government's going to take you away and give you to a much richer, wealthier white family. I mean, could you imagine that? Just based on what your children look like, some government officials just come in and say, hey, that's not your kid. Do you have papers? Can you prove it? Could you imagine that? That is astounding to me. Now, in the case of my sister Yamila, her and her daughter Shania look very much alike, so it's very easy to believe that she could be her mother in the face. But, like I said, my sister is dark, a bit more dark skinned, has much darker hair, darker features all around, where my niece, her daughter, biological daughter, looks much like her father, blonde, blue eye, very light skinned. But you can believe that. But if you look at my nephew Damien, and you looked at my sister Jessica, who looks very much like me, very light-skinned, tan-skinned, but still looking mostly very Latino. But you look at her son Damien looks like he's black. And if you didn't meet Damien's father, you would never believe it. But you know what? Nobody seems to be caring about that. Nobody seems to care when Latino-looking babies or black-looking babies or Asian-looking babies are being held onto by anybody. But apparently, if your child happens to be blonde and blue eyes and you're any darker than khaki, make sure that the Irish and the English don't take away your baby. Make sure to have documentation on you because they're going to take away your fucking baby on suspicion that you're not the parents. I mean, I couldn't imagine. I mean, that's just horrible. Imagine how these children felt, where they're being torn away from their parents, from their biological family members, and then their family members are being arrested, on child endangerment, kidnapping, child abduction, child endangerment. When it comes to children, you can really pile on the charges here. And I mean, and currently, by the way, at least one of these couples is still in jail right now. Even though it's been proven that they are biologically related to this child. What happened was that her parents, like I said before, couldn't afford to raise her on their own anymore and asked this family to take care of them. Now, mind you, that's a lot more common than you might think. All right, that actually happened in my family history. My grandmother, as you may know, is the mother of 19 children, including my mother, who was the youngest of the 19. Her and my Aunt Teresa, who was the second youngest of the group, were actually raised by my grandmother's sister, their aunt, for a very long time, actually, because my grandmother, with all those kids that she already had, could not afford to raise two more, and being Puerto Rican, apparently was incapable of closing her legs. So she asked her sister to raise them, take care of them for her, which is very common amongst poor families that are rather large. Hey, you got space for one more? Lord knows I fucking know. Yeah, sure, why not? I'll put them in the cabinets. Anyway, but it's very common, all right? But, but nobody cares if it's just, dark-skinned, dark-haired babies. But you find a white, blonde-haired child, blue-eyed child, and all of a sudden, shit, you got to call in the cops, call in the NSA, you got to call in the FBI. At no point has anybody ever read a book on genetics or DNA where it's possible for dark-haired parents to have a blonde, blue-eyed child. This is it's the very definition of racism and prejudice. Basically, that's what they're saying. It's like, oh, hey, you're way too much of a darkie to have that kid. So I found this not just offensive, but a little scary. When you really think about it, it's a little fucking scary. So yeah, that was I wanted to lead off with that one today, and actually really lead off, as the case may be. Let's see. And before we take a break, let's do the October 30th birthdays. I'm not going to do the October 31st birthdays until the actual Halloween show a few hours from now. Okay, but if you were born October 30th, you share a birthday with comedian actor Kevin Pollak, who is 56 years old and does an excellent William Shatner impression. Harry Hamlin, for those of you ladies that grew up in the 80s and had a little tickle the nickel over him, is 62, believe it or not. Otis Williams of The Temptations is 72. Henry Winkler is 68. For those of you who don't know, that's the Fonz, baby, is 68 years old. Also starring in, Arrested Development as the lawyer for the family in that show. And Ivanka Trump is 32 years old. Not really famous other than the fact that she's the daughter of Donald and Ivana Trump. And it's a good thing she's really, really, really going to inherit a lot of money from her family, because have you seen that bitch? She got the worst of both parents, okay? I swear to God, she... oh my God, she looked like an ugly version of Chelsea Clinton, and that's saying a lot. In any case, I'm going to take a break right now, so I need to rest my voice. And here is Troy Klein and his song, As Life Goes On. I'm Joe the Shirt. I'm off the cuff, and I'll be right back.
Wash away my tears. Let the shadows hide my fears. Let the pain teach me to be strong, yeah. As life goes on, as life goes on, help my heart find the love within. Let my dreams sail with the wind. Let my voice rise in a new song.
And Joe the Shirt is once again off the cuff. Welcome back, everybody, one and all. Happy Halloween. Once again, remembering this is not the official Halloween episode of Joe the Shirt's Off the Cuff. That's coming later with the Russian. Now, let's see. Everybody loves Google, don't they? You love Google, don't you? Everybody loves Google. You love Apple, don't you? Everybody loves Apple, don't you? Absolutely. You love Intel. You love Adobe, right? You love Steve Jobs, right? Right? We all love him, right? Well, no, not everybody. You know who really, really, really doesn't love them these days? Their own employees. Apparently, they're getting sued. Let's see. Suit contends that Silicon Valley firms conspired to keep employee salaries down. A federal judge has granted a class action status to lawsuits that alleges Apple Inc., Google Inc., Adobe, and Intel of all major Silicon Valley companies kept the lid on wages by agreeing not to poach one another's employees. Apparently, 5 software engineers found out about this back in 2011, and contended that the companies violated antitrust laws by engaging in a conspiracy between the years of 2005 and 2009 to limit pay and job movement, they say, which affects more than 50,000 people. Now, okay, in a nutshell, for those of you who didn't understand that, and I got to tell you, I had to read it a couple of times and ask my girlfriend to explain it to me before I finally got it. What they were doing is, in a way, price fixing their employees. Okay, we all know in the modern world that we live in, technology is king. All right, software developers are king. Engineers are kings. The people that let me use this microphone, this USB port, this computer, this keyboard, and this internet to get this message out to you. They are kings in our world. All right, the nerds of yesterday are the kings of today. All right, but they're only kings as far as the people that own the companies they work for will let them be. So what's going on is that these guys, these companies, like I said, Google, Apple, Adobe, and Intel, allegedly all got together and said, hey, we're all in the business of making money, all right? We're all in the business of making these, high-tech products so we can make money off them. But we're going to make less money if we end up having to pay these guys more money. So you agree not to steal my employees from me. I agree not to steal your employees from you. You agree not to steal his employees from him. He agrees not to steal your employees from you. Nobody goes around poaching employees. And then that way they're not getting job offers. So that way we can pay them pretty much whatever the fuck we want. All right. It's employee salary price fixing. And this is what they are alleging that they are engaged in. The plaintiffs allege that the companies had entered into these non-solicitation agreements, a non-competition clause, really, including Intel Corp and Adobe, right, all had ties to Steve Jobs, Apple's late chief executive, or had at least one board member in common with Apple. The lawsuit follows a similar probe from the U.S. Justice Department that the company settled in 2010. The investigation alleges that the companies colluded to suppress wages by agreeing not to recruit employees from one another. Wow, that is just shitty. That is bad. That is unfair competition. You know, it's almost like a monopoly. Not really that at all, but you know, it's related in some way. Way to go, Google, Adobe, Intel, and Apple. The people we trust. These are the same people, by the way, that were complicit with the U.S. government spying on all of us. Just so that we're all clear on that, okay? Now, back to Silicon Valley yet again. Who'd have thought? 2 Silicon Valley stories in one show. We've all heard the term the glass ceiling. For those of you not in the know, the glass ceiling refers, of course, to the metaphorical barrier between a woman's salary and potential to get ahead in a business world as compared to a man's, where a woman can only go so far, a man can go further, is the common concept of that idea. Apparently, the glass ceiling still exists to this day. I think the old concept of it was that for every dollar that a man makes, a woman makes 67 cents. Then it became 72 cents. Then it became whatever. Far be it from the point here. But apparently, most companies, especially in the United States, have made strides to make that more equal, more equitable. And I have something to talk about that as well in a little bit. But apparently, one of the few industries where it's not progressing is in Silicon Valley. In San Francisco, speaking before a gathering of women in technology, Facebook Chief Operating Officer Sheryl Sandberg recalls an uncomfortable experience with two men on a different stage discussing the scarcity of women in industry. One man commented that he would like to hire young women, but not all are as competent as Sandberg. Okay, that may be true. I mean, obviously not all are going to be as competent as she is, just like not everybody is going to be as competent, as, Steve Jobs was as a man in his job, as all men could be, obviously. The other man said that he too would like to hire more young women, but his wife fears he would sleep with them, and he confessed he probably would. You don't tell people that, man. That's retarded. That's absolutely retarded. According to this, many blame the industry's growing gender gap on the, quote, brogrammer, end quote, culture, a hybrid of bro and programmer. Really? They have to explain that one to me? That becomes a tongue-in-cheek name for engineers, the programmers. Yeah, you know what? I in no way disbelieve this. I believe, I think that it does happen. I think it happens a lot. I think it happens more than it's reported, and I think it happens more in just about every industry out there than people, allege. Now, here's the thing that I thought that just occurred to me as I'm reading this. Everybody's talking about, the gender gap between men and women in the business world. That, everybody should be treated equally. All right, well, let's say it's equal. But what happens if there happens to be a profession where not as many women apply for these specific jobs? Does a company have to go out of its way to hire women into these jobs that are not as qualified as men? I'm all for equality. You know what? You have a company, equal amounts of men and women are applying for it, and they're equally qualified. Hey, go right down the line. Hire 50-50. Fuck it. But let's say you have, an industry where 80% of the population that applies for the work is, say, male, like, say, construction industry, police, firemen. And yes, I am being stereotypical here. I'm very sexist here. And these are very stereotypically sexist jobs for men. All right. And that's true. It happens. And maybe 20% of the population that applies for it is female. Okay. I'm not going to hire my company to be 50% male, 50% female if 80% of the workforce is male. Okay? And of the 20% that are applying for these jobs, of the women, I have to believe that not all of them are going to be qualified to do the job. They can't all be perfectly qualified, can they? Because I know that all 80% of the male population that's applying for the job, I know they're not all qualified either. I'm going to go through the list of people and decide who it is I want to work for me. Now, one of the reasons I bring this up is because we're looking for equity in the genders in the business world, and there are more women than ever in the business world. Okay, but they're not just waitresses or working in salons anymore. Okay, we're talking about high-powered business people out there. My girlfriend happens to be one of them. She has a very nice paying job out there in a nice firm where she makes a gang load of money. Good for her and me. But I've been to her office, and the vast majority of people that are at her level are male, or close to it, or close to her level are male. Not too many females in that world. And I don't know why that is. I don't know if it's because of the hiring practices. I don't know it's because of the pool of applicants. But I do know that there's a big controversy in this country right now when it comes to race selection, when it comes to applying to schools, when applying to colleges, equal opportunity programs. Now I can't remember the name of the big one here, of course, but programs where urban youth, and when I say urban youth, I'm referring to Black, I'm referring to Hispanic, I'm referring to that type of youth, that apply to go to college, want to go to college, strive to go to college, but because of, say, their test scores, which is a valid point, or the schools they come from, which I feel is another valid point, they are considered to be less desirable for a lot of schools, whereas the children of white families who go to better schools and have better grades overall, they want to be able to go to these schools. And they don't see why any room should be made for these people that do not have the test scores, do not have the school background to go to these schools. Well, for them, I say, well, because that's just it. They keep not getting the opportunities. You are born poor-ass shit. You go to your local grade school. From your local grade school, you're probably going to go to your local junior high school. From your local junior high school, you're going to go to your local high school. And from your local high school, God forbid, you're probably not fucking going to college, all right? Not even the fucking community college, all right? You're probably not going. I'm telling you that right now. So you don't get these opportunities. You don't get these shots because the people that are in these colleges accepting these candidates are looking at not that you're Black, not that you're Latino, but what school did you go to? Oh, well, let's see. You went to Theodore Roosevelt High School. Highest criminal record for 3 years that I went there up until my senior year. We dropped to number 4 thanks to 3 schools in Brooklyn. You went to CS 77 in the Bronx. Oh, my God. The crime rate there was even worse. So based on where I came from, if you don't have these programs in place, there's no way in the world I could have gone to college, or at the very least, not the college I actually ended up going to, which was a very nice college, State University of New York at Albany. It was a great school. I learned a lot. I experienced a lot. And by the way, like most students that went to college, Black, white, Latino, No, I'm not using my college education for what it is I want to do in my life. Most people don't. So get over yourself. Got a little preachy there. That's why I do that occasionally. Anyway, we're going to take a break. I'm going to come back with something maybe a little on the lighter side. How about that, all right? Coming up next on music is This Is Energy and their song Forevermore.
I'm ready to fall. I'm ready to risk it all. So I'll open up my heart. You can take what you want. I'm giving you my everything. To me, you're more than words. To you, my heart is singing. I love you forevermore. You'll never feel what it's like to be alone. I will love you forevermore. I hope we grow together to 102. I can't imagine.
And once again, Joe the Shirt is off the cuff. Welcome back, everybody. Got into my preachy phase on that last one. Sorry. Oh, my God. Now, once again, let's talk about who's pissed off at the United States. Once again, everybody. Once again, it's not just Americans pissed off at their own government for spying on them. It's also apparently Mexico, France, and a couple of other of our allies are pissed off at us because we've been spying on them. We've been spying on their internet, their phones, their government officials, their government leaders. And thanks to good old Eric Snowden, now everybody knows about it. It's a little hypocritical, though, because, of course, France and it's also been found by the same people that purported that the United States was spying on France, that France had actually been voluntarily giving information on its citizens to the United States. So, yeah, what about that, France? I didn't know what you were talking about. It's bullshit. So, yes, I love the concept, actually, of espionage. I truly do, because international espionage is, of course, illegal in every country in the world. And every country in the world does it. And it's not bad enough that we spy on our enemies or we spy on countries we consider neutral. We're spying on our own friends. We're spying on our own people, you know. I don't know why anybody's shocked at this. I'm not shocked. Why are the French surprised? Why is Mexico surprised? You know, it's like, come on, seriously? You really thought we were going to let you just live right next door to us and we weren't going to spy on you? You know, I'm waiting for when Canada loses its mind and going, what the fuck, eh? You spying on us, eh? You know, I can't wait for that to happen. We're just spying on everybody. And everybody's spying on each other. And people are spying on us, not just our enemies, okay? I can guarantee you that, England is still keeping a, pretty close eye on us, going, one of these days, just know it, we're going to take them back. One of these days. They're watching us. They're keeping an eye on us. And who else is pissed off at us? Not just the Americas, not just Europe. Africa's pissed off at us now, too. Apparently, recent story here. Let's see. The ruling African National Congress of South Africa has demanded an apology on Monday after U.S. officials detained and questioned a South African businessman and former government minister in New York last week. Former freedom fighter Tokyo Sexwale was detained because he was on America's terrorism watch. Now, you're thinking to yourself, well, that's not so bad. No, so he was on the list, right? Well, you know what? Up until was it 1994? So was Nelson Mandela. Apparently, they're not updating the list too often. According to this, Mandela and other ANC leaders were designated terrorists during the struggle against apartheid. Sexwale, like Mandela, was part of the ANC's armed wing and served time as a political prisoner on Robben Island. According to representatives there in South Africa, Comrade Tokyo Sexwale is a former minister of the Democratic Republic of South Africa, a decorated freedom fighter, activist, and leader of our liberation movement, not a terrorist. The very fact that the government of America continues to view members and leaders of the African National Congress as terrorists is an affront to the global anti-apartheid movement. Basically, they just called us a bunch of racists. Apparently, in 2008, then Secretary of State Condoleezza Rice expressed her embarrassment that she had to provide special permission for Mandela to visit the United States because he was still designated a terrorist. Later that year, Congress passed legislation authorizing that rules rendering visitors inadmissible due to terrorist or criminal activities would not apply with respect to activities undertaken in association with the African National Congress in opposition of apartheid rule in South Africa. But apparently nobody remembered to change the list. Trent Duffy, a spokesman for the FBI's Terrorist Screening Center, which administers the federal government's no-fly list, said he was, quote, prohibited by law from commenting on individual cases as the list is classified. So not only do we not know who's on the list, we don't know who's got the list, we don't know if they're going to change the list, and if they do, they're not telling us about it. Okay. Just making sure. Now, let's move on to more international news. I'm feeling international today, baby. Let's go to Cuba. Now, here's something that's, for me, files into the category of shit I didn't know but wish I had earlier. Did you know that Cuba has two forms of currency? A two-tier money system. I did not know this. I did not know this up until just Wednesday of last week. Apparently, now, it's a dual currency program which began in 1994 as Cuba opened tourism to raise money after the collapse of the Soviet Union. Well, you know what? When your biggest partner in crime is all of a sudden not, you got to do something, right? But what they did was they created a two-tier system, two different types of Cuban pesos. They have the regular peso, which is worth pennies on the U.S. dollar, and then they have what they call the convertible peso, or the CUC, which is matched dollar for dollar to the American dollar. Now, the convertible peso, the better peso, tends to be used by tourists and Cubans who deal with them, such in services such as hotels, taxis, and stores that do not accept regular pesos. Now, the problem with this is a lot of these stores that sell a lot of, high-end items, maybe it's a TV, maybe it's a car, maybe it's a microwave, maybe it's a great cigar, who knows? But the problem is that these stores do not accept regular pesos, for which most Cubans are paid in. So you can have all the regular pesos you want. You could have like 1,000, or you can have 1 billion regular pesos, but you go into one of these stores that only accepts the CUC peso, the convertible peso, and they'll just go, well, fuck you, we don't take that. And basically, it's like it's like the difference between a dollar bill and a food stamp in our country. Okay, yes, the food stamp is considered a form of payment, a form of currency, but you can't go buy a TV with it. I did not know this. I found this fascinating. The plan is, though, to do away with the two-tier system sometime this summer, I believe. That's according to the Cuban president, Raul Castro, to help unify and stabilize Cuban economy and, keep Cubans from losing their fucking minds over the fact that they can't buy a TV. According to them, fixing the currency is only one part of the puzzle that also includes wage and salary policy, price sector, and a decision price policies in the state retail sector, and a decision on whether or not to allow state enterprises to import and export without prior permission from the government. So in other words, if you happen to be Cuban and have a job and get paid, don't go buy a TV, motherfucker. You got. And then back home to the good old U.S. of A. Now, among the products out there that you think of as high end, what do you think of breast milk? You ever think about that at all? You know, high end breast milk? Anybody? Nobody thinks about it that way, but apparently right here in Los Angeles in California, there is a burgeoning, booming business for pharmaceutical grade human breast milk. Now, the idea of breast milk being on the market is not a new concept. Women have been donating excess breast milk to hospitals and donation centers for decades. Okay, typically this will be for babies with allergies, preemies, rare cases where mothers are not lactating despite giving birth, and the babies need real breast milk as opposed to, say, formula. Okay, well, there's a new company out there called Prolacta Bioscience, which since 2005 has pasteurized and delivered human breast milk to hospitals where it nourishes tiny infants born prematurely, preemies. And then they concentrate it with a special formula of proteins to really make it extra good for the babies. Okay, it's the kind of thing that it's a kind of formula and real breast milk that they combine that strengthens the child's immune system to the point where mortality rates, complication rates are dropping like nobody's business. Now, I don't know. I don't know. I hear pharmaceutical grade breast milk. I used to imagine some, like, dirty dealers out there, back alleys, rubbing breast milk up against their gums, checking out, see the purity, and that is actually a problem. Let's see. Let's see. The company touts its stringent safety measures, which include extensive testing for diseases, obviously. That's important considering the study published this week in the Journal of Pediatrics found that breast milk bought online was often contaminated with bacteria, including salmonella. The Academy of America's Pediatrics last year reaffirmed the benefits of exclusive breastfeeding infants for their first 6 months of life, and for some preemies, just breast milk isn't quite enough. They need this very special reinforced formula here to help them out. Now, it's expensive stuff. A 4-ounce bottle of pasteurized human milk costs $56 or $14 an ounce. A bottle of the fortifier that is in the Prolacta can cost $125 to $312, depending on the caloric formula. Prolacta estimates that the cost of feeding an infant the fortifier could range from $5,600 to $10,000 per hospital stay. Now, fortunately, for those of you out there that may be needing Prolacta, this is covered by insurance. So, if you have a child, the kid's a preemie, and it's not doing well, and the doctor prescribes Prolacta, you can get it through insurance. And in some cases, in some states, if the doctor orders Prolacta for your child, insured or not, that's what they get, which is good for them. Now, the company is currently does not pay the donating mothers. There's a group of about 300 mothers here in California who donate this milk. Like I said, they're rigorously tested. They're checked out. They have babies of their own, and they donate the excess milk. Apparently, thousands of gallons of milk just in this city alone are just dumped every day because the mothers don't know what to do with it. Well, you can donate it to Prolacta, assuming you don't have some venereal disease or cancer or AIDS or what have you. And currently they don't pay them, but they're thinking about paying them in the coming years as an incentive for people to donate their milk. But they are worried about this concept because then they're worried that the mothers will start to cut their milk with cow's milk or water or formula in order to, donate more milk and then get more money. And that is actually it for my time. I got to get the fuck out of here, all right? Thank you for listening. I wish I could do more on this one. I'm Joe the Shirt. I'm Off the Cuff, and this is The Principle by Urban D.
Night Owls 3, syntax, flavor alliance.
The world's about exploitation, sexploitation. The media got us.
I gotta tell you, I'm running a little late. It happens.
Much less our morals, painting pornographic.
That's right, baby. Gonna go out now and get me some pharmaceutical grade human breast milk. Yeah, I gotta bring it to a party tonight. Gonna go, yo, my brother, what you need? Need some pharmaceutical grade breast milk? What you need? I got Puerto Rican breast milk, Asian breast milk, got African American breast milk. Where you from? You from the Far East? I got Indian breast milk. I'm talking dot. Not that kind of breast milk, alright? What you need? I got the special Japanese breast milk. Tastes like soy. You're gonna like that, my brother. I know you will. I know you will. I'm so wrong.